When Max Verstappen won the 2025 Italian Grand Prix back in September, it ended a winless run of 8 races dating back to Imola in May. It was an uptick of form for Red Bull, and jokes began circulating social media about Verstappen's virtually non-existent chances for the championship. But what followed in the next 3 races is no laughing matter for McLaren and its championship leader. After a dominant weekend in Austin, Texas, where he scored 33 of 33 points, led all 75 laps, and cut the gap to Piastri by 23 points, Verstappen's drive for 5 is well and truly on. I'm going to break down the remarkable comeback so far from Verstappen, what he needs to do in order to win it all, and which of the remaining races favor the title contenders. COTA was another testing ground for the RB21's improved performance. A track with a wide range of corners, but more importantly, sky-high track temperatures. Well, Verstappen passed the test with flying colors. Sprint pole, sprint victory, Grand Prix pole by nearly 3/10, and the race victory. The RB21 was on pace right away despite the sole free practice session. And despite a successful sprint, Verstappen made it clear changes needed to be made to the rear of the car for the full race. They did just that, and to great success. Verstappen actually adopted Tsunoda's setup that he ran in FP1, which helped with the balance in the fast corners and expressing performance without losing in the low-speed areas. According to data, Red Bull had the best ultimate race pace in Austin, just under a tenth on average over Norris's McLaren. There are a lot of caveats to that figure, but the fact that the RB21 didn't chew through its tires like in the early part of 2025 is an ominous sign. The US Grand Prix was classic Verstappen dominance. He entered the Circuit of the Americas with a 63-point gap to Piastri, which is now reduced to 40. And let's talk about that points deficit in 2025, because Verstappen's progress has been quite remarkable. He's gained 64 points on Piastri in the last 5 races, after trailing him by 104 after the Dutch Grand Prix. With 5 races left, there are still 141 points on offer. Since the summer break, McLaren have scored 119 points as a team. And do you know who else has scored 119 points in that span? Max Verstappen. The reigning champion hasn't qualified lower than second since Zandvoort, and hasn't finished a race lower than second since the Hungarian Grand Prix, in which he qualified 8th and finished 9th. After which he stated he doesn't believe Red Bull will win again in 2025. On the flip side, McLaren have had a torrid run of form since Hungary, which has opened the door for an extra championship contender. It's been 4 races since Oscar Piastri has seen the podium. That was back in Monza, and he hasn't finished ahead of Norris since the last time he won a Grand Prix back at the end of August in Zandvoort. Norris has been slightly better, but not by much. 3 podiums since the summer break, but he hasn't won a race since Budapest back at the beginning of August. So that leads us to the most important question. How can Verstappen win the 2025 Drivers' Championship? There are a lot of permutations, and as a matter of fact, you can visit this website which will give you a scenario calculator as to how he can do it. Link will be in the pinned comment. To take the title, Verstappen must outscore Piastri by 8 points per race. As an example, if Max wins all remaining races in sprints, with Piastri finishing second to him in all but 1, Verstappen is champion on countback by way of winning more Grand Prix. Difficult? Yes. Impossible? Absolutely not. What's ironic is the driver favored for the title is 40 points behind, while the driver with the most realistic chance is only 14 points adrift. Norris, for example, would only need to outscore his teammate by 2.8 points per race. But if you ask Piastri, he's still in the best position at the moment, which is hard to argue with. But want to hear another funny fact? Do you know what other Australian driver was first in the standings with 5 races to go, only to lose the championship to a Red Bull driver? That would be Mark Webber, Oscar Piastri's current manager. So 5 races remain to decide it all, but which of those tracks will suit McLaren and which will suit Red Bull? Right now it's harder to tell because the RB21's upgrades and their setup approach have seemed to erase the weaknesses that plagued them earlier in the season. If we want to go by history, Verstappen is great at all the remaining tracks. 5 wins in Mexico, 3 in Brazil, 1 in Las Vegas, 2 in Qatar, and 4 in Abu Dhabi. On the other hand, most of these tracks are not Piastri's favorites. He has an average finishing position of 7th across the remaining 5 circuits, with Qatar being his only strong venue where he scored 2 podiums. As to the cars themselves, Brazil should be strong for McLaren as it is dominated by medium-speed corners, which is their strong suit. Las Vegas will be a struggle for them, with cold temperatures and high top speeds, but Abu Dhabi is another happy hunting ground for them. Red Bull should excel at a venue like Qatar, which is dominated by high-speed corners, and historically they've gone well in Mexico and Brazil as well. It's tough to predict as this current version of the RB21 has seemed to eliminate its balance issues, and it looks like they've got their rear tire temps under control in race conditions. The McLaren still produces significant downforce across a wide range of corners, but their pace doesn't seem as potent as it did pre-summer break. The best part is we only have a few more days before the cars are on track in Mexico, and we get to write the next chapter of this season. Verstappen will sit out FP1 due to Arvin Lindblad taking over his car, but there will be plenty of time for the Dutchman to get dialed in. Whether Verstappen ultimately makes the comeback or not, the fact that we are even having this discussion is unbelievable. While most of us were unimpressed by a lackluster and politically correct McLaren title fight, Verstappen has reinvigorated the battle for F1's most prestigious prize, and I for one say, it's about damn time.